When I was a child, I often looked back on those early years with fondness, filled with love and laughter thanks to my wonderful parents. We didn't have much money or live in a luxurious place, but we had each other, and that was enough. My sister Rachel and I were inseparable, always embarking on little adventures. Our parents would laugh and say it was important for kids to explore the world. Everything changed when I turned 8. One rainy night, while my parents were driving home from work, a truck lost control on the slick road and crashed into their car, killing them instantly. Rachel and I didn't understand why they never came home. Our Aunt Melissa was the one who broke the news, saying, "Your parents had a terrible accident, Burrows. They're gone." Afterward, Melissa decided to take in Rachel, but said she could only manage one child. Rachel, who was quiet and loved reading, was easier for her to handle, while I, being lively and constantly on the move like our parents, was deemed too much. She told me, "I'm sorry, Sylvia, but you'll need to go somewhere else, somewhere better for energetic kids." I couldn't understand why I was being sent away when we were both her nieces. I was placed in an orphanage. The place felt cold and smelled of antiseptic, and I felt like I didn't belong. It seemed as though I was being abandoned, not even wanted by my own aunt. But then something good happened. The Smiths, friends of my parents, learned about my situation and came to take me in. They didn't see me as a troublesome child, but as a girl who had just lost everything. "Why would we not want you, Sylvia?" Mrs. Smith asked gently as they were signing the adoption papers. "You're going to be our daughter now, and we'll make sure you have everything you need." Moving to a new city with the Smiths felt like stepping into a different world. They loved me as their own, never making me feel like an outsider. They supported me through school, cheered for me at soccer games, and were there for every high and low as I adjusted to my new life. Even with their love, I often wondered about Rachel. How was she doing? Was Melissa kind to her? Did she miss me as much as I missed her? But life moved on, and I grew up in a home filled with love and acceptance, slowly healing from my past. That's how my journey started, in a loving home that chose me when my own family had turned me away. One morning, Mrs. Smith noticed I was quiet and asked, "Hey Sylvia, you seem awfully quiet today. What's on your mind?" "It's nothing really," I said, "just thinking a lot about the past lately." I hesitated, unsure how to bring up the box of old letters I had found in the attic. The letters weren't meant for me, but they had told me so much. "Whatever it is, you can tell us," Mr. Smith said, his expression warm and inviting. Taking a deep breath, I decided it was time to share. I found letters from Aunt Melissa to my parents. She talked about taking in Rachel, but not me, saying I was too much like my parents and too wild to fit into her perfect family. The room fell silent for a moment. Mrs. Smith reached over and squeezed my hand. "Oh, Sylvia, that must have been hard to read." "It was," I said, "but it explains a lot. It's why she never came to see me, not even once. I guess I just wasn't the right fit." Mr. Smith said firmly, "Remember, we chose you because you fit perfectly with us, not because you needed to fit a certain mold." I nodded, feeling the weight of years of confusion starting to lift. "I know, and I'm grateful every day, but it still hurts to be rejected for who I am." "We know, sweetheart," Mrs. Smith said with a warm smile. "But remember, you're not that little girl anymore. You're a strong young woman who has overcome so much." "You're right," I said. "I'm going to use this. I'm going to write my thesis on family dynamics and acceptance. Maybe I can help others understand and deal with similar situations." "That sounds like a wonderful idea," Mr. Smith said proudly. "We're so proud of you." The rest of my college years flew by as I focused on my studies and part-time work, driven by a desire to show that being too much can actually mean having a lot to offer. My thesis on family acceptance was well received, opening doors to graduate studies and a promising career in social work. Every success felt like a quiet reply to Aunt Melissa, proving that her rejection didn't define me but pushed me forward. My bond with my adoptive parents grew stronger, and I found comfort in knowing I was loved unconditionally as my career took off. I often thought about those difficult revelations and used them to fuel my passion for helping others. Every client I assisted and every family I saw reconcile felt like healing a small part of myself that had been hurt. Through it all, I kept moving forward, determined to live a life filled with love and acceptance, proving that sometimes being too much is just enough. One crisp afternoon, as I was settling into my office, my phone rang, breaking the quiet. It was an unfamiliar number. "Hello, Sylvia speaking." "This is Nurse Thompson from Greenwood Care Facility," the voice said. "I'm calling about Melissa, your aunt. She's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and her condition has worsened." Hearing Melissa's name after so long surprised me. "I'm sorry to hear that, but there must be some mistake. Melissa and I haven't been in contact for years." "I understand, Sylvia," Nurse Thompson said, but before her memory faded, she insisted we reach out to you if things got worse. Her family hasn't visited in months. I paused, letting her words sink in. "I see. What exactly are you asking of me?" "Just a visit," Nurse Thompson replied. "It might comfort her, even in her current state." I thought about it and felt an old wound reopening. Later, at home, I turned to Jared, my fiancé. We sat on the porch watching the sunset. "Melissa's in a nursing home with Alzheimer's," I explained, unsure how to feel. "They want me to visit her." "Sylvia, you don't owe her anything," Jared said calmly. "Remember, she made her choices." "I know, but it's complicated," I replied. "Part of me feels like I should do something." "Whatever you decide, I'm with you. Just think about what's best for you," Jared encouraged. The next day, I talked to Mr. and Mrs. Smith. "Sylvia, it's okay to protect yourself," Mrs. Smith said warmly. "You have your own life and family now. Melissa made her choices." Mr. Smith added, "It's not your responsibility to fix it." Their words made sense, but I needed more perspective. I called Rachel, hoping to understand her absence in Melissa's life. "Sylvia, I stayed away on purpose," Rachel confessed. "Living with her, even as the favored child, was suffocating. When I left, I decided it was for good." "Did you know about her condition?" I asked. "I did," Rachel said. "But I chose peace. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary for my sanity." Rachel's words hit hard. We had both found our escape from Melissa's controlling shadow. After reflecting on these conversations, I decided to call Nurse Thompson back. "I've given it a lot of thought," I said. "I'm sorry, but I can't visit Melissa. It's a part of my past that I can't revisit. Please understand." "I understand, Sylvia. Thank you for considering it." "We'll respect your decision," Nurse Thompson said before hanging up. A mix of relief and sadness washed over me. Jared held me close, his support unwavering. "You made the right choice for you, Sylvia," he assured me. Leaning into his embrace, I felt the strength of his support. Choosing to move forward on my own terms was one of the hardest but most freeing decisions I had ever made. A few days later, I met Rachel at a cozy little cafe. I was nervous but excited. It had been years since we had sat down together, just the two of us, trying to reconnect after so much time apart. As we sipped our coffee, Rachel broke the silence. "I've missed this, Sylvia. I've missed you." "I've missed you too," I replied. Her words made the familiar pain of our separation ease a bit. "I'm sorry we let so much time pass." "We were both dealing with a lot," Rachel said with a tentative but genuine smile. "But I'm glad we're here now." We started talking about our aunt, and I hesitated before speaking. I heard about Melissa's condition. It must have been tough hearing about it after all these years. Rachel's expression clouded for a moment. "Yeah, it brought up a lot of old feelings. But I realized that staying away was necessary for my own healing. She wanted to shape me into something I wasn't, and when I couldn't fit into that mold, it hurt a lot." I nodded, understanding her more than ever. She had been rejected in one way, and I had been rejected in another, just for being too much like Mom and Dad, too energetic, too lively. "It's ironic," Rachel mused. Rachel and I talked more about our past. She pushed us away, trying to mold us, and now she's the one left alone. I said, "I've decided not to visit her. It's hard, but it's what I need to do to protect my peace." "I hope that's okay." Rachel reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "It's more than okay, Sylvia. I support your decision. We both need to do what's best for us, not just what's expected." We spent the rest of our time together reminiscing about our childhood, the good and the bad, talking openly about our hurt and healing and the lives we reclaimed from Melissa's control. Felt therapeutic. "We have each other," Rachel said as we got ready to leave. "That's what matters. Let's not let anyone come between us again." I smiled, feeling a deep sense of relief and reconnection. "Agreed. It's us against the world, right?" "Right," Rachel echoed with a laugh. As we hugged goodbye, I felt lighter than I had in years. The renewed bond with my sister gave me strength. Driving home, I reflected on our journey, the pain Melissa caused, our personal growth, and our choice to keep our distance. It wasn't about holding grudges, but about choosing our well-being and focusing on a future that was ours, not dictated by the shadows of the past. That night, as I shared everything with Jared, his unwavering support and understanding highlighted the incredible strength I had gained, not just from my chosen family, but also from reconnecting with Rachel. Together, we were moving forward, healing from our scars, and building lives filled with love and purpose. The morning Melissa passed away, a chill settled in the air, not from the weather, but from the finality of the news. Rachel called me early. Her voice was steady but carried a hint of old grief. "It's over, Sylvia. Melissa is gone." As I processed Rachel's words, a mix of relief and sorrow tangled inside me. "Are you okay?" I asked, understanding the complexity of her feelings. "I think so. It's strange, isn't it, to feel relief that it's finally over," Rachel replied. "It is, but it's also okay," I said, feeling the truth of my words deeply. "We've been carrying this burden for too long." We decided to attend the funeral together, not for Melissa, but for ourselves, to close the chapter on our painful past. At the cemetery, the small gathering was a stark reminder of the solitary life Melissa had led in her final years. There were no warm eulogies, only the cold facts of her life and passing. As the pastor finished his prayers, Rachel squeezed my hand. It was a silent pact between us. We were here to say goodbye not just to Melissa, but to the shadow she had cast over our lives. Walking away from the cemetery, I felt like a chapter was finally closing, one that had lingered open for too long. In the weeks that followed, life moved swiftly towards a much happier occasion, my wedding. On the day of the ceremony, in the bridal suite, I was surrounded by the laughter and bustle of my bridesmaids. Rachel was there, radiant and supportive. No longer just my sister, but my best friend. "You look beautiful, Sylvia," she whispered, adjusting my veil. "Thanks to you. I couldn't have gotten here without your support," I replied. Our eyes met in the mirror, reflecting our shared history. The ceremony was everything I had dreamed of and more. Jared stood at the altar, his eyes filled with emotion as I walked toward him. The church was full of our friends and family, every face a reminder of the love and support that had guided me here. As Jared and I exchanged vows, promising to build a future together based on love and respect, I felt the weight of the past truly lift. We were moving forward, doing so on our terms, our lives defined not by past shadows, but by the light of what could be. The reception was a blur of music, dancing, and laughter. Mr. and Mrs. Smith danced every dance, their faces glowing with joy. Rachel gave a toast that brought everyone to tears, not just for its words of love, but for the journey it recounted, a journey of healing and rediscovery. As the night drew to a close, Jared and I stepped outside for a quiet moment. The stars sparkled above us, a tapestry of light against the dark sky. "We did it," I said, resting my head against Jared's shoulder. "We did," he agreed, kissing the top of my head. "Here's to new beginnings, to love, and to a future we create together." As we stood there, the night seemed to whisper around us, promising years of happiness built on the courage to make choices and the strength to let go of the past. The air was no longer heavy with loss but light with the promise of the life we were ready to live. Now that our story has reached its end, I have a question for all of you. Sylvia and Rachel chose to attend Melissa's funeral, not out of obligation, but to find closure on their own terms. Do you think attending the funeral of someone who hurt you is necessary for healing, or is it better to find peace from a distance? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your insights can enrich our discussions and provide support to others facing similar dilemmas. If you found this story moving or thought-provoking, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. We value each like, comment, and subscription as it helps our community grow and allows us to bring you more stories that matter. Thank you for watching. I look forward to reading your responses.